All right, welcome everybody to today's Ignite video. We are on session 19. Congratulations. For those of you that have been following and playing along with us, we are in week 19 of 20. So next week we will end and we will start the series over again. Section 19, we're talking about getting to the closing table, all of the little details, the nuances, the things that happen on the buy side and the sell side when it comes to basically being under contract. All right, so let's just dive in. Lots and lots of details. Get your notes out, get your pens out, get your minds wrapped around this. There's not a ton of concept to this class. There's a ton of detail, if that makes sense. So today we're gonna start by going over timelines, right? Everybody needs to understand that when you go under contract to get to the closing table, it's a series of events. It's a timeline. We're going to go under contract today and we're going to close in approximately 30 days or so. Best practices and risk avoidance. You guys, as an employee broker, as somebody who teaches contracts, as somebody who's been in this game for a little while and have seen all sorts of different things happen, we're going to spend a lot of time here on section 2 today. Best practices and ways to avoid risk. I'm going to teach you guys how to ask for referrals throughout the process, ask for referrals after the process, as well as gain some reviews. And then we're going to close with a post-closing follow-up. You guys need campaigns for people. Every single person in your database has to have some sort of reminder campaign. And oftentimes what we do as real estate agents is when we close on a deal, we put somebody back on the, our regular touch program. There's a better way of doing things, right? And so we'll dive into this more, but here's what I'm talking about. A lot of agents, if they have, say a 50 touch, system in their CRM for clients, what they'll do after a closing happens is they'll just pop that person back on their 50 touch platform or program. You need to have them always on that 50 touch platform or program. So even once they become a lead, even once they start listing their home or buying a home, or they go under contract, your people always need to be on your sphere of influence touch program. Once they close on a property, you need to activate another touch program. It's on top of it. Your people will be bombarded by you. And it's okay because they have real estate top of mind. And I'll teach you guys how to kind of set one up. We'll go over any ahas, questions you guys have. And then obviously we're starting to end real estate. We're starting to end, or not real estate. We're starting to end Ignite and we're going to start back over. And in the early sessions of Ignite, I sat there and harped around our daily success system. And still one-on-one, day over day, I'm having one-on-ones with all sorts of people. And I'm not seeing us fully complete this daily success system. And I'm racking my brain around why and how, and I'm trying not to get all lectury about it. But I think if I had every single person in here raise their hand and shout out, are you on track to hit your goals this year? I don't believe there'd be a ton of people that could raise their hand. And I also believe that in accordance to those people that wouldn't be able to raise their hand, if I asked another question, raise your hand for who's got a daily success system that they track and follow and monitor every single day. I think the same amount of hands would go up for the same amount of people that are on track to hit their goals. So I'm going to harp on that a little bit today. Ignite is a contact sport. We learn things on Wednesdays and we have to implement them throughout the week. And my fear is that we're not doing that. And I don't want to sound all lectury, but I also don't want you to see you guys fail. In this last month, all right, October is the do or die month in real estate for a lot of people. We have board dues come out, and none of us like $700 to $800 worth of board dues. But you see, the fact of the matter is in leadership, I get to see every single person that get hit with board dues who's not hitting their mark, who's not on track with their goals, and can't afford them. You guys are going to see a mass exodus of people get out of the real estate world with Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Remax, the group, you name it. Multiple agents get out in this month. This is the die month for real estate. And the number one contributor to that is those people didn't sit down with themselves and actually make this a job and make this a career. All right, let's dive in. Start with Mr. GK. Real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's strenuous and a trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. I want to pick this one apart a little bit. Real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. If you guys are the type of people that run around and the sky is always falling once something happens, mark my words, you're going to have some of the most trying times of your life. All right. If these transactions were not trouble-free, we would not have a job. If these transactions weren't trouble-free and we still had a job, we would not get paid what we get paid. I guarantee you that. It's strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. When you're working on your files, work on your files. Don't skip anything while you're going through a contract. But on the same token, don't make every single day about negotiating through a contract. All right? It's said that on average, a transaction coordinator has about 10 to 15 hours worth of work on any one given file. So if you're an agent who has a transaction coordinator, congratulations. You're freeing up about 10 to 15 hours worth of time. But it's also said that as an agent without a transaction coordinator, you'd have to absorb all of that hours, right? But you also have to negotiate. You have to go through and you have to coordinate. Those times take about 10 to 15 hours. So at max, a transaction should take right around 30 hours. I'd venture to say once you get good, it's about 15 to 20 hours, but let's call it 30 hours. So if your transaction commonly takes about 30 hours and it's a 30-day process, you have to still continue to lead generate and get your activities in, right? And that's why we talk about that daily success system. It's a daily success system. It's not a success system that happens around a contract. And if we have about 30 hours worth of work to do in one contract, we have plenty of time throughout the weeks to get our other stuff done. So here's my little soapbox. Never, ever, ever negotiate a contract or do anything that coordinates any sort of document or communication while you're under contract before you get your lead generation done for the day. An inspection objection that you think is going to take you all day long to complete should only take you about an hour at max. Get your lead generation done and then tackle the inspection objection. But Bruce, we have Ignite on Wednesday and you take up all of my time until 11 o'clock. I record every single Ignite series. Do your lead generation and start tackling that inspection objection at noon. That inspection objection will require your time, your full detail, your full attention. But it can be done right after you're done lead generating, all right? All right, here's where we get into some nitty gritty. So the first part of this Ignite class, we're gonna talk about buyers and sellers, talk about deadlines and timelines and all of that. So grab your paper, get your pens out, stop me, ask me any nuanced questions. I'm gonna teach you guys Ignite, but I'm gonna give you real world examples and I want you guys to give me, any off the wall questions you have. All right, as a real estate agent, it's important to track the dates and deadlines of the contract. It's not only important, it's imperative, you guys. By not tracking dates and deadlines of a contract, you put your buyer's earnest money at risk. You put your seller's dollars at risk. Gotta have some fail-safe systems for dates and deadlines, and I'll share with you guys a couple of mine. Use the contract you have been using in previous days, in days of Ignite. Right? When you have and you write contracts, I have a video that will teach you guys exactly how to do it. Title companies will have date guidelines. I know they're both at the Firestone office and at the Fort Collins office. If you guys are in those offices, Ask any staff member where a date guideline is. And if the office doesn't have a stack full, reach out to your title company. Every single title company I know has some sort of date guideline. All right. Now let me show you guys a couple of different ways that I track my dates and deadlines. All right. So one is, see how messy my calendar is. In my calendar, you see how I have some things out here around 7 o'clock at night? These are my reminders. I put them in purple. Post coach on call. Check the PC Facebook page. Send my bookkeeper my bank statements. I also have some reminders down here, but my calendar is coded for reminders to be in purple. And so let's pretend that my inspection objection deadline would be tomorrow on the 6th. I put in there 222 Main Street, inspect objection. Now we have this new thing in our contract. It's called a time of day deadline. If that time of day deadline happens, you need to understand that our dates and deadlines do not fall at midnight like we're used to. Some contracts and some people will be putting in 7 p.m. So I encourage you guys to put in 7 p.m. Put in your time of day deadline so that way you don't let this thing go past. Change your color. And so on and so forth. So that's exactly how I do it every single contract, every single time. And because it's in purple, I get to look at and see, what do I need to do that day? Where do I go? I train my brain that way. So if you guys are taking notes, creating a list, I'll share with you guys all of the important dates and deadlines that I go on my calendar like clockwork. All right, so let's go through and do the buy side first. All right, different dates and deadlines I track depending upon what side of the coin I'm on. So let's go buy side first. I want to know when my deadline is for my buyer to submit their earnest money. So I'm always going to track that in my calendar. Record title, title objection, and title resolution deadlines. The only thing I have in my calendar for my buyers is my record title objection deadline. Now let me share you with you guys my principles around this. I don't have the record title deadline in there because that's for the selling side to get to me. That's their deadline. But my deadline on the buy side is to object. So I put that in there. The other thing that I'll put in there is the title resolution deadline. So far we have earnest money, title objection deadline, and title resolution deadline. If I'm on the buy side, I don't care when the homeowners association documents deadline is, but I care about when our termination deadline is. So I'm going to put the termination deadline in so that way my buyer doesn't go past it. Seller's property disclosure deadline, that's for the seller. Lead-based paint for the seller. New loan application. I don't usually put the loan application deadline in because I want my clients to be done and through underwriting before I go take them out to see a house. But I will put in the loan terms deadline and the new loan availability deadline. Remember, those are deadlines that if my buyer passes, we have our earnest money in jeopardy. Appraisal deadlines, absolute must. I don't do the appraisal deadline. I do the objection and resolution deadline. And then on inspection, I'll do the inspection termination, objection, and resolution. And that's about it, you guys. Oh, the other thing that I'll do is I put the contract date, or I'm sorry, the closing date in my calendar. The worst thing that happens to me, and especially when you guys get busy, is if you put your closing date in the calendar, you tend not to if you put your closing date in the calendar, you will tend not to schedule so many things on that day. The worst thing that can happen is you constantly look at that day as an open day. You start filling up your calendar, and like a week or two before closing, it's time to start scheduling closing, and now you've got a mess. You've got to juggle some things. So block out that day. And that usually is not just a 7 o'clock deadline that I have for myself in my calendar. I block out the whole day from probably 8 to 6 p.m. So that way I don't schedule anything. So that way we can get to our closing table. Make sense? Good. All right. I know some people that will take it one step further. All right. So I know some people that have 2 whiteboards in their office. They have a whiteboard for their pipeline, for all the leads that they're working and all of that stuff they visually want to see. And then they have a whiteboard with all of their transactions on it. Sometimes it looks like it's in a linear order and it's got hash marks. Sometimes it's in the form of a grid system. So let's see if I can whiteboard this out, and I'll show you guys here how to track this stuff. And some people use Excel spreadsheets, whiteboard. Everything I'm about to show you can be done kind of on multiple different things. All right. So a lot of people that use whiteboards or Excel spreadsheets, it'll look something like this. Bear with my lines here. I don't know. All right. And then this will be probably either the address or the buyer. So down this column here, this will probably be your under contract date. And then all of those dates that we just talked about that I found are important, I'm going to put them over here. So this would be like my title stuff. This might be my HOA stuff. You guys will have master lists. When you guys create these graphs, you have master lists. And then this buyer, let's say it's, who can I pick on? Meg. Meg's my buyer. I'm going to put that she went under contract today on 10/5. Title work is done 7 days from now. So let's call it 10/11. Title work's going to come back. HOA is due in 2 weeks. So on and so forth, guys, to where this is your closing date. Whoa. All right. Create yourself some checklists and some fail safes. Put it in your calendar. Put it on a spreadsheet. Put it on a whiteboard. You got to have this detail. This is that high intentionality that we talk about. One of the worst things I've ever seen that's happened in this field is not people buying, a refrigerator for their client because they forgot it in a contract, but agents who have lost their buyer's earnest money. It's the worst feeling in the world. It's the worst kind of place to be in. Questions so far? Okay.
I do have a question. So going back, there's one deadline I forgot to write down while you were going through them. So I have the earnest money deadline, and then I'm missing what comes between the earnest money and the title resolution deadline.
Title objection deadline, date number 4 and date number 6, off record and record. And those should be on the same dates. If you guys do your contracts the same way I do them, these would be always on the same dates. Both objections are on the same dates. Both deadlines are on the same dates. And then the resolution is usually about 2 or 3 days after the objections.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right. So who's all involved in a transaction? All right. Well, when you guys first go through your first transaction, you start to realize there's a lot more people involved than we kind of had expected. Okay. So let's say, oh, I'm sorry. We never went through the important dates for seller. Very, very, very sorry. All right. So there we have your buyer going. Let's do your seller. All right. So for the selling side, I want to know when my title deadlines are. So when I need to get title commitments back from this title company to the buyer, that's my deadline to complete as a seller. But it's not my deadline to object because that's the buy side. So I like the title deadline and the resolution deadline for a seller. I need to know when I need to comply with the HOA docs. So I like the HOA documents deadline. I need to know when I need to get all those disclosures to the buy side. So I want to know the seller's property disclosure deadline and if the lead-based paint disclosure deadline is applicable. I don't really go through anything on new loan terms. I know some people will track that on the sell side. It's for the buyer to track. If you know, stuff starts to get squirrely, I'll just look it up down the road, but it won't be in my calendar. I do like to kind of know when we're through appraisal. So I will put on the appraisal objection deadline and possibly the resolution deadline, depending upon how much energy I have that day. But I want to know the appraisal objection deadline. So that way, once that deadline passes and the buyer has not objected to value, I can let my sellers know, hey, we're pretty good at closing at this price. Not sure thing, but we're good. The reason why I like this deadline, you guys, is because, gosh, I need some water. I like this deadline because on the buy side, you do not have to disclose to the selling side when you guys get through in appraisal. So oftentimes what happens is when I'm on the buy side and our appraisal comes through at value, I don't have any duty to let the sell side know. I only will object. So anyways, on the sell side, I like to know when their objection deadline is, because if they pass that, then we're good. I get to keep buyers' earnest money if they can't perform due to a low appraisal. The other thing I like to know is when our inspection objections and resolutions are. So I will like to know that on the sell side. And then I also need to know when I need to deliver all due diligence documents. So the due diligence documents delivery, and then on every file, every file, closing date. Questions? All right, cool. I'm at my home office. I need to run downstairs, grab some water real quick. I'll be right back. Appreciate that, guys. All right. So I think we got dates and deadlines on buy side and sell side. You guys create yours. Some people will put every single deadline in their calendar. I think that's pretty good because he covers everything. So let's get started with who's involved in the transaction and what's involved and what kind of documents you're going to see and all of that when you go through your first couple of transactions. Even if you guys are on your second, third, fourth transaction, I'll be honest with you, all of a sudden you'll get hit with a weird transaction. If you have a transaction coordinator, right, make sure you send and you let your transaction coordinator know you went you went under contract. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll line up a transaction coordinator, we'll get all excited, we'll go under contract, and 3 or 4 days later, we're wondering why our transaction coordinator isn't communicating with our buyer. It's because we didn't tell them, right? So my TC gets CC'd on pretty much everything I do, and she sees me on everything I do, on everything she does. So that way we're in constant communication without having to be in communication. Does that make sense? I can see when she sends out an email, so she doesn't have to tell me she's talking to the title company. I know she's talking to the title company. When I send the inspection objection to the sell side, I'll CC my transaction coordinator. So that way she knows I got the objection delivered and I complete the deadline, because she's tracking those deadlines too. But it's my license. It's my duty to protect my earnest money. So don't rely on your transaction coordinator to 100% follow all your dates and deadlines. It's up to you as the licensed agent. On the flip side, the other agent could also have a transaction coordinator. You guys need to keep them in communication. Whenever you send something to the other side, to the other agent, copy their transaction coordinator. Because oftentimes, if an agent has a transaction coordinator, most of the things that get sent, the transaction coordinator needs to work on and do. The other thing that happens when you go under contract Some agents will get all excited. They'll start scheduling inspections. They'll start submitting earnest money and going through all of this stuff, but they forgot to send the contract to the lender. So once you go under contract, the buy side, send it to the lender. On the sell side, they need to send it to their title company or their closer. Who else can be involved? Who else might be a party or a part of this transaction? Oh, I guess it says it for you here. Co-op agents. So if you guys are working with another agent, I know, I think Augustine and Darby are working with a Hispanic speaking couple right now. If you have a co-listing agent, communicate with them on how and often you guys are going to CC people on things. What's your roles? Communicate, hyper communicate. So let's build out this little list. All right. So let's go another buy side. So once you guys go under contract on the buy side, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to send that contract to your transaction coordinator, if applicable, and then you're going to send it to the lender. Once that happens, the very first steps that you need to take on the buy side is to submit earnest money and also to send, and also to schedule your inspection. So Bruce, how do you do earnest money? So let's break that down for you guys. Once you guys have a buyer under contract, you're going to go kind of quick reference the contract. Who is the earnest money recipient? So let's switch over to a contract. You're going to go down and you're going to look at, especially all of you guys that are writing down notes and creating your checklist. You're going to go down here to section 4.3. And it's going to say earnest money in the form of blank and will be held by blank. That's where the earnest money needs to be delivered. But oftentimes what we see is like First American Title, something like that, Fidelity Title, Chicago Title, you name it. One of the missed kind of things that happens is oftentimes agents as well as buyers believe that their earnest money has to be turned into the title company in which the house is setting. Let me just paint the picture. I guess I can't explain it. I have a buyer. They live down in Denver. They want to move up to Greeley. We go and we look at houses on a Saturday and we go under contract on a Sunday, but they currently live down in Denver. And the title company in here, let's do First American Title. First American Title. That buyer can actually take their earnest money check to the First American Title location closest to them down in Denver. Oftentimes. So most title companies will have multiple locations. And if they have multiple locations, you most likely can send your earnest money check to the nearest location to your buyer. So that way they don't have to drive all the way up to Greeley to submit it. That makes sense? Everybody clear on earnest money, how that works? All you do is Google the nearest location. So I would just Google Aurora First American Title Company. I get the address, I copy and paste it, I send it to my buyer. And in my email will say, hey, Mr. and Ms. Buyer, congratulations, we're now under contract. As we spoke about in our buyer's consultation, you need to submit earnest money within 3 days of going under contract. Here is the nearest location to where you live. If this isn't convenient for you, let me know what city is, and I'll look up the nearest location. I need you to make the check out to the title company. And in the memo line, I need you to put in capital E, capital M, and then the address. So here's a little trick for you guys. Title companies love when you do this, and it also helps if there's any sort of earnest money dispute as far as the title company goes. So if you put capital E, capital M in the memo line, along with the address that you're under contract on, if the title company ever misplaces that check, they can look at that memo line and understand what file it goes with right off the rip. So it's just a little tidbit for you guys. It helps. And then the next thing that we're doing is we're scheduling our inspection, right? Now, you guys can run your business however you see fit. I have learned over my years to keep the how do I say this? To keep the requirements of my buyer in separate emails. So the first email that goes out is congratulations, here's where you need to turn in earnest money. Be on the lookout for another email about inspections and what we need to do. So I'll get all the earnest money stuff figured out. I'll send it to them. And then what I'll start to do is I'll start to get on the horn with my inspectors. Hey, are you available? Are you available? I've got a buyer. I don't know if they're going to choose you, but I just want to make sure that you're available. Hopefully get them over to you and we'll go from there. So I try and figure out exactly when my inspectors are available that can comply with the deadlines in the contract. And then I'll put together an email specifically for inspections. And here's kind of how that looks. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, hey, again, congratulations. Hope that you're working on earnest money. Maybe you've turned it in already. I have talked to my inspectors. Here's their contact information. This guy can do it on this day. This guy can do it on this day. If you have your own inspector, please let me know. You are welcome to use whoever you see fit to inspect your home. If it's not one of the guys on my list, please let me know their contact information. I'd like to have a conversation with them. And let me know when you have this scheduled within the next 24 hours. There is no deadline in the contract for the buyer to set and schedule the inspection. I give my buyer that 24 hours because I need them to understand how much they need to get on it. They need to schedule it. Some inspectors are a week out, maybe a week and a half out. Some inspectors I might talk to right now and they'll say, yeah, I can do it Friday at 1 p.m. Well, if a day or two goes by before my buyer calls that inspector, they might fill that Friday at 1 p.m. spot. So time is of the essence, very much on the buy side. Questions, comments so far? Lots of details. All right, I want somebody to run that back for me. Who's been paying attention? Who's taking notes? My question for you is, once you go under contract on the buy side, what are the steps that you need to take?
Tell your transaction coordinator if you have one.
Yep.
And the
What else?
contract to the lender.
Okay, perfect. What's next?
Earnest money delivery.
And then?
Inspection, schedule an inspection.
Dang, we had like 5 different people respond. I love that. Exactly, you guys. I'm telling you guys, write that down. I reiterate it multiple times because when we go under contract, it's an exciting time. Your buyers start asking you all sorts of questions. When can we get back into the house? We need to take measurements. What happens next? Where are we at? It's so exciting. And the other thing that happens too, you guys, is most of the time you put somebody under contract on like a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. So if it's on a Saturday or Sunday, you might have personal plans. If it's on a Monday or Tuesday, you guys got to get your lead generation in. Have that checklist going. What's next? All right, so we got the beginning steps. After we get earnest money turned in and we've got our inspection scheduled, what's our next plan of attack? What's the next thing that we have to make sure we do on the buy side? Exactly. There's not a lot right then and there. So when a buyer goes under contract, it's very hot and heavy at the beginning. Lots of things being coordinated. The only other thing that's going to happen that should be on your checklist, but there's not really a time and deadline, is when the selling side sends over disclosures and due diligence documents. So on your checklist, once you have inspection scheduled, the next item that I have on mine is disclosures. The sell side is going to send you over the source of water, the seller's property, square footage disclosure, maybe an ABA. So let's talk about that. This is not something our office has. It's in the works with our attorney. But a lot of brokerages have what we call affiliated business arrangements, ABA disclosures. I'll show you guys an example. They're pretty universal as far as the look of them. Here's a very, very common looking one. They're all kind of in the same similar format. So if you get this is probably the number one thing that scares a new agent. Is I get this call all the time. I should precurse with, when in doubt, you guys, if you guys get something from the sell side, call me. I'm super fine with remembering and reminding you guys what things are. I don't want you guys to get in trouble, and I don't want you to freak out. And I also don't want you to not call because you're like, oh my gosh, Bruce is going to get mad if I ask him that question again. Give me a shout. Happy to reiterate. So ABAs, when you start to read through this, it starts to look like your buyers are going to get charged fees from Coldwell Banker, from whatever it is. All this is a disclosure saying, hey, Coldwell Banker is in business with other businesses. And because we're in business with other businesses, we reap profits and benefits from those other businesses. If you use our businesses, we have to disclose to you exactly what we receive. And so that's all it is, you guys. It doesn't mean your buyer has to use Coldwell Banker Home Loans. It just means that if your buyer is using Coldwell Banker Home Loans, Coldwell Banker is going to make some money off of them. Like I said, we are working on that with our office. We have a couple of ancillary businesses. Let me just share with you guys how some of this works. So we have Simple Home Loans, and then we also have Simple RE Solutions, and we also have Simple TC Solutions, I think, something like that. Well, the Simple name is kind of being born, if you will. And right now what we have is called an MSA, a marketing service arrangement. What this means is that they're allowed to basically pay for rent in our offices in order to be able to promote their business to you guys. Since our office doesn't directly benefit from the sales of home loans through Grant and from the sales of the TC services, we don't have to have an ABA because they just pay us a monthly rent. But what makes the office more profitable, which puts more money into your pocket, is when those companies start to pay the office per deal that they do. So if you guys use Simple Home Loans and your buyer uses them, we're working on to a point where the office will actually receive a little bit of that profit to boost our profit share. And so anyways, ABAs are coming to our office. I keep saying soon, it's been about a year. Stuff takes some time. Those legal attorneys really go through the scrutiny around these things. So it's coming. You guys will see them. Give me a shout if you guys can't remember any of this. All right. So we've got earnest money turned in. We've got inspections scheduled. Sellers are sending over all of their disclosures. All right. We should go ahead and start with a sell side checklist. So let's go and put together a checklist for the sell side and once you go under contract. So once you go under contract on the sell side, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to do the very similar thing. You're going to let your transaction coordinator know if you have one, and you're also going to send the executed contract as well as if there's a counter proposal to the title company. Another common question is Bruce, what do I say? How do I engage with the title company? You simply create an email, upload your documents as attachments to that email, and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Closer, we are now under contract on my listing. I look forward to working with you. You don't have to execute a button. You don't have to fill out a paper, nothing. Once you send that contract to them and you say, hey, we're under contract, looks like we're getting started. They know what to do. They take that contract, they start reviewing it, they start pumping out title commitments. There's not a whole lot you have to do. There's nothing strategic with it. If you are on this call and you guys don't have a title rep, start to reach out to title companies, start to look and see and talk to their marketing reps, start to talk with one another. All right. I'm sure Leslie has a title company. I'm sure Alyssa has a title company. Anybody who's done a deal has a title company. Get with them, have them take you out to lunch. Most likely the person taking you out to lunch from the title company is not going to be your closer though. They're just like, they're kind of like a mark for the title company. So they're their marketing director. They're the face of the company. And then they'll put you in touch with the closer and you'll get that email, and that's all you do. Not a lot of communication. Once you have that going with title, the second thing that you're going to do on the sell side is you're going to go and I want you to double check the disclosures, double check that they're filled out, double check that they're signed by the seller, double check that where you need to sign your stuff, like, hold on. As an agent, you don't sign all of the disclosures. You don't sign them all, but you sign some of them. So make sure you sign them, make sure your seller signs them, make sure they're filled out, and then send them to the buy side. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is you want to start to gather all due diligence documents from your seller. Now, if you're anything like myself and a bunch of different agents, what we try and do is we try to gather all due diligence documents from our seller before we go on the market, before we go under contract. But as a licensed agent, you are required to give the buy side any and all pertinent information, pertinent documents. And so what that means is if you get all of your due diligence documents before you go under contract, you better have some sort of written communication that requests more. You see how I can set this up. So you have a seller, you're going under contract, and they've given you all of their due diligence documents. And you go under contract and you do not ask your seller for anything else because you assume that you have everything. You send it to the buyer. The buyer appreciates it. They do their inspection. And then all of a sudden on inspection, they find that there's a brand new water heater. And you don't have a receipt for it. And the date of installed was installed like right around the time of under contract. The buyer side reaches out to you and says, hey, we saw that there's a brand new water heater. Can you give us the receipt for that? And you're thinking, there is? I didn't even know that. So you talk to your seller. The seller says, oh yeah, I totally forgot. It's not that big of a deal, Bruce. Water heater went out, happens. We had a new one installed. Okay, well, what happened? Well, the water heater bursted and there was water that went all over, but it's all good. We got it all cleaned up and a new water heater is installed. And then you get this invoice, and the invoice says, hey, new water heater was installed. Recommend having restoration company come and do a mold test to ensure no mold growth. But your seller didn't read that. They just paid the invoice. And so now you've got this little bit of a pickle because you have to take this document and put it in front of the buyer's face. But the document says recommend a mold mitigation company to come and test for mold. And now you have basically an issue, maybe not a full-on issue, but you guys see where the headache starts to come in. So under your license, I want you guys all to make sure that you ask your seller if they have any additional documentation that pertains to the house for due diligence. If anything has happened to the house since the time that you were over there doing your listing presentation to the time it went under contract. Are there any new invoices, any new receipts, any new things that have happened? You want to have that in writing or text once you go under contract, because that way you've asked and you've completed your fiduciary duty. Make sense? Okay. I think we went through some of this. What's the first thing my buyer needs to do? Sorry, apparently I'm ahead of the game. So here, if you're doing a linear timeline, this is what this stuff starts to look like. Ooh, I did like reading through this. This is a great thing to kind of pause. I would say, like, if you guys are going through one of your first, buyer or seller transactions, this is a slide for buyers. Start to ask yourself all of these questions. When I'm reminding the buyers not to make new big purchases, what does that mean? Okay, well, this is a good one, right? The lender does not need the buyer to do anything different. All right, so I don't necessarily do this under contract. I will ask the buyer and talk to the buyer about this during my buyer's consult. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, when we go through this process and you're pre-approved for that loan, I need your finances to stay the same way they've been staying throughout the period of this transaction. Meaning you can't go buy a new car, you can't go finance new washer and dryer. Don't even buy a new washer and dryer. Just pay your bills and buy groceries, and don't do anything over and above that. Don't buy a boat, a car, a vehicle, an investment property. I've ran into that a few different times, you guys. I got a buyer buying their primary house. They're an investor, make a lot of money investing in real estate, and then they want to go buy an investment property, and then the file gets flagged because their credit got hit, because now the lender thinks they're buying multiple houses at once, and now the deal's not going to go through. When am I communicating to set up utilities, and how do I do that? Right? This is a great one, and I missed this one. The other thing that I put in my calendar is about a week before closing, I need my buyers to set up and take over utilities for the day of closing. So the buyer can just call the utility company and say, hey, I'm buying 123 Main Street. I close on October 7th, and I want to just set my account up so that way I can have utilities the day I move in. Am I communicating notice of any holidays that may delay the process? I don't, this question can be twofold. When you're writing the offer, double check, is there any holidays? Am I putting any dates or deadlines on holidays? If you do have some holidays coming up, which we do, right? We have, I think Halloween falls on Monday. We have Thanksgiving that falls on a Thursday. We're going to have Christmas and New Year that happen this year. Those holidays, oftentimes title companies may have a couple of days off. Maybe the title company has, the Thursday off for Thanksgiving, as well as maybe the Wednesday and Friday before and after. So if you have a 2-day week for title, you don't want anything going on during that week of Thanksgiving. How do I negotiate the inspection report, and when am I communicating this information? We're going to get into that in a second. Kind of hang tight on that. When do I touch base with the lender, the title company, and the listing agent? I think we've already went through that, but if you guys have any questions around that, let me know. Hold tight on the inspection. I didn't realize how far ahead myself actually was. Are there any templates that I can use or create to save effort and streamline the communication across transactions? Yes. All right. Just like we have clause manuals, and I'm educating you guys on every single Ignite, if there's an opportunity to create a checklist, you guys need to be creating these checklists for yourself. I can absolutely tell Augustine's doing it because he asked me what date was in between what date. That's beautiful. Are there any other things that can streamline? Go into Google Drive and go into your docs and start to type out your congratulations email for the buyer, a congratulations email for the seller, hey, we need to set up inspection email. We need to set up our, we need to turn in earnest money email. If you guys have those templates already done, now you just copy, paste, change some of the dates, change the buyer's name, change the title company location, and send it. It takes you that much less time.
Bruce, you can also create a template in an email itself and save it that you can go to and use every time.
In Gmail?
Yes.
Holy crap, Leslie. I love new ways of doing things, you guys.
So you
Don't.
just compose a new email and you type it up, and then down at the bottom, there's 3 dots and you can save it as a template. Oh, you might not have templates turned on. So if you go into your settings, you can enable templates. Under your settings.
Just under settings.
Yes.
Do I have to do this thing? No.
No.
Okay.
Just go into your email and go to settings, see all settings.
Thank you so much for this, Leslie.
Yeah.
I find this to be, I think this could be
So if
helpful
you
for everybody.
scroll down, you should be able to find templates where it says enable templates. Let me see, go over to,
Templates not coming up.
let me go in there. It might be under advanced
So it's right here.
and enable the templates. And then when you go back into your email out of settings, you should be.
Holy crap, Leslie. This is awesome. Not
So
that I'm
then-
going to use it and do it today, but dang.
Yes, but now you can go to templates and then save
And you can-
draft as template, and then
So I
you can name it.
So you just kind of type this up, inspection. And then when you hit this, you go to templates, save draft as template. And
Save
then
as a new
oh my gosh, perfect. You're amazing. I love tips and tricks like that, you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? That's phenomenal. Okay. All right. By timeline. Seller transaction. We've been doing that. I'm sure those are the same questions. Here's a good template for timeline. Make sure. Okay. Yep. Before we go into risk avoidance, give me just 1 sec. Sorry. Okay. Let's go back up to this question here. I think we've hit all of the content except for this guy right here. How do I negotiate the inspection report and when am I communicating? So let's use that. Let's kind of use that as kind of a follow-up to where we're at with our checklist. So we've got the buy side. We've got our earnest money. We've got we got the contract over to the lender. We've got inspection being set up. Like I said, from there, we're just kind of waiting to receive disclosures. Once you receive those disclosures, take a look at them. Have your buyers take a look at them. Execute them as needed. Ask questions as needed, right? I've got some questions that come up for me is, hey, Bruce, the sell side said they have no due diligence documents, but on the, I don't know, I got to make up something here. On the square footage disclosure, we don't believe that the square foot is correct in accordance to what they have and what we see and all of that. We want to know how to resolve that. You guys can use your due diligence documents objection delivery deadline as that delivery deadline. Even though the seller says, I don't have any due diligence documents, that disclosure is part of that due diligence doc. You can use that as due diligence of your buyer to object. So I want to make sure we say that. So once we have all those disclosures and we've got through everything, then usually now a week has passed and our inspection happens. All right. So You have the right as an agent to go to all of your inspections, and you also have the right not to go to inspections. So here's kind of the rule of thumb, the rule of real estate around inspections. And also this kind of coincides with the sell side too a little bit. A seller does not have to allow an unlicensed real estate person in their home. Basically, what I'm trying to say is a seller can mandate that if you want an inspection done by your buyer, the licensed agent has to be there while the inspection is going on. A seller can mandate that. Sometimes a buyer will want to use an inspector that I don't use. If a buyer wants to use an inspector that I don't commonly use, I'm going to go to the inspection because I want to cover my butt. In my world, I don't like to go to inspections. It's 3 hours that I just sit there and I learn about a house that I'm not going to live in. And the inspector is the professional. And so typically you just sit there because you need to let the inspector do their job and you need to drive them. Do not go to an inspection and get all chitty chatty with your inspector. When people start to chit chat, so you guys name it, right? The last time you guys cut your finger cutting up vegetables, most likely was because you weren't paying attention because somebody else was talking to you, or you're watching football, or you were doing something else. Most often we don't cut our fingers cutting up vegetables when we're the only one in the kitchen and there's nothing going on because we're focused. Let your inspector be focused. The last thing that you guys ever want to have happen is the inspector misses something because you guys got into a chit chat conversation. Buyer closes on the home, finds out these things later, and now is pissed off at the inspector. So I don't go to inspections if I can help it. Some agents I know go to every inspection. They feel like it's a value add to their client. It's something they promote. They sit there and say, hey, I'm the type of agent that goes to all of my inspections. So I'll be with you at the inspection to make sure nothing happens, to make sure that we can tackle through things. It's just not me. You guys choose. My inspectors are all set up on showing time and all of the showing platforms. So that way, if they set up their showing, I don't have to go. Let me reverse this a little bit. I don't want to jump over to the sell side, but it's a good time to do so. If you're on the selling side, you need to have a clear conversation with your seller. Are they allowing unlicensed inspectors into the home? If they are allowing unlicensed inspectors into the home, I believe that inspector still needs to schedule that inspection through showing time and not through me. I'm not going to give the inspector permission to go into the home. I want my sellers to give the inspector permission. So the inspectors can set up a showing just like we can as a licensed agent through showing time. The seller gets the notification and they have to either accept the inspection or decline it. That puts the liability back on the inspector and my seller. Do you guys see that? Any questions around that? Okay, let's continue forward.
Hey, Bruce, I'm a little confused on that. Why would anybody use an unlicensed inspector?
Ah, who was that?
Melanie.
Melanie, good morning.
Good morning.
Good question. So in the state of Colorado, I'm so glad you brought this up because I meant to say this to you guys. In the state of Colorado, no inspector is licensed. I don't know if you guys know that. By definition, by law, no inspector in the state of Colorado is a licensed inspector. This is the stupid piece of real estate that I hate. They are certified inspectors.
Okay,
They're not licensed, they're certified. Yeah, well, and Melanie, the reason why I'm saying this, and I really love that you brought this up, is because it's the #1 pet peeve of mine that the commission went ahead. Where's it? Right here. Blow up my screen. I don't know how to blow up my screen. All right, well, maybe you guys can see it here. This is the section we're talking about.
To make it bigger,
Unlicensed.
you can try doing like command and then the plus sign, or control and then the plus sign.
Control plus.
Like, if that works, might not.
No, it's all good, but I think you guys can see it. Actively licensed real estate brokers, licensed appraisers, unlicensed inspectors, or unlicensed broker assistants. For some reason, they couldn't just add another box that said certified inspectors. So in the state of Colorado, no inspector is licensed. That's why we don't have the option. They're all certified. So when I do a sell side, I always select unlicensed inspectors, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I'm selecting unlicensed inspectors, and I know what that sounds like. It sounds like we're just having Uncle Jim Bob come in with no teeth, who doesn't know anything from anything and wants to inspect your home to see if it's a good home. In the state of Colorado, all inspectors are actually certified instead of licensed. I don't know why that option isn't there. If you want, you can talk to our commission. Here's their name and phone number. No, I don't say that, but I say if you want to call our commission and complain, I would really appreciate it because I want to get this thing changed. But that's what that means. Do you have any questions? Do you have any problems with that? And then I usually will say if the inspector is approved through showing time, you guys will get to the choices of accepting the actual inspection, and they'll pretty much understand from there, and we'll move forward. Good question, Melanie. So once you guys are, once you guys have your inspection set up, here's how the inspection commonly works. It's about a 2 to 4 hour process for the inspector to go into the home. The inspector is not allowed to be invasive. They are allowed to open up closet doors and stuff like that. So some sellers think that that's invasive. The inspector is allowed to use and open everything that is in the home except for seller's personal possessions. And they also can't be invasive, meaning they can't rip off trim. They can't poke holes in the walls to check for mold. They can't poke holes in the walls of a basement to check for foundation cracks. But they can go into closets and open up cabinet doors and go underneath kitchen sinks and go into attic spaces and open up electrical boxes. 2 to 4 hours. The most common types of inspections that happen out there are typically the whole home inspection, a radon inspection, and a sewer scope. Those are my top 3. Without a doubt, about 90% of all inspections that I do have those 3 components. From there, you're welcome to do a mold test, a pest test. There's a few others: mold, lead-based paint, asbestos, water moisture test. Sometimes there's stucco. So here's my warning about stucco homes. If you find that a home has stucco siding, you're going to need permission to do an invasive test on the stucco. It's basically a pinhole test. So the inspector has to take some sort of needle and poke it through the stucco to basically test the integrity of the stucco. That oftentimes can cause sellers to really panic and not want your buyers to do it. So if your buyer wants to invest in a stucco built home, have that conversation with the selling agent before you go under contract about how that inspection is going to go down. Not a lot of stucco homes out here, but there are a few. So if you get into that pickle, or before you get into that pickle, just have a communication with myself, another coach, or the other side. Once the inspection is done, the inspectors typically will need about 24 to 48 hours to compile their report. I don't know about you guys, but if you've never seen an inspection report, inspection reports are long and wordy and complicated sometimes. No matter how good the home is, the inspection reports are commonly 30 pages at least, usually 50 to 60 pages. So here's an inspection report. If you guys want this, you guys can have it. I love the way my inspector does it because it's not very alarming and I think it's very easy to read. All inspectors have different types of things that they do, but the reason why I love my inspector is because the first pages are the most important. So when I get to my inspection reports, the first thing I look for is what's my major concern? Roof. Oh crap, big high dollar ticket item. He notes that's the major concern. The roof is wearing, there's cracking, there's chipping, there's granular loss. It's bad, needs replaced. That was a $26,000 bid if I remember right. Then he goes into potential safety hazards. So it looks like the only major concern was the roof, then potential safety hazards. The overhead garage door last mechanism is broke, needs a repair, easy fix. Carbon monoxide detectors need to be installed. And the radon came in at 11.5 picocuries per liter. And that's it. Those are the big important things, potential safety hazards and a major roof.
For,
Now, this is
for
where,
radon, what would be like a high level of like radon, I don't know, density or whatever it is?
yeah. So that's a good question, Augustine, because that's an opinion-based question.
Okay.
All right. What is high to you might be different than might be high to your seller or your buyer. The EPA guideline is 4.0 picocuries. So high is 4.1 or above.
Okay.
Kind of how
Thanks.
I sit at it.
And this one came in at 11.5, so that's like really high, right?
Depends on how you interpret it.
Okay.
My house that I currently live in came in at 19. Did I think it was high? Nope. I put in a radon system. I put in the exact same radon system as the radon rating levels came in at 6. And the radon was the same system and it brought it down to like 2.2 or something like that.
Okay.
So
yeah. I
yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience, so I don't.
Yeah. And that's why I'm
what's-
trying not to alarm you or answer you. I'm really beating around the bush with this because I will have some buyers that go, oh my gosh, the thing registered at 4.8. We need the whole world is falling apart. I can't believe these sellers live like that. They probably have lung cancer. I read all about this online and I need a radon system put in. And then you'll have some people that the radon will come in at like 6 and they'll go, well, it's not a law, it's an EPA guideline. Do you know that the EPA allows us to eat McDoubles from McDonald's? Those should be illegal. So I don't care if it's at 7. You know, if the seller will credit me $1,000, I'm good. You see the difference there, Augustine?
Yeah,
High
it's
is
all
going to
like,
be in. Yep.
just depends on the person.
Yep. Deferred cost items. All right. These are where I basically tell us a buyer, and I'll say this in my buyer's consultation, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, when we do our inspection, we're going to be concerned with some safety hazards and some major concerns. Anything that the inspector puts as deferred maintenance items, I want to say congratulations now. Congratulations, you are buying a used home. When you buy a used home, there will be things that have been deferred over time, very much like buying a used car. You can't expect that that the seller of a used car is going to fix every scratch and dent in the car before they sell it to you. So when we go through the home and when we look at homes, I'm going to point out all of the deferred maintenance items. Cracking sidewalks, cracking driveways, cracking concrete patios, a little bit of a shower leak. Why is this shower leak a deferred maintenance item and not a potential safety hazard? Because it's dripping into the bathtub. The bathtub holds water. The bathtub takes water and takes it to the city. So it's just called a deferred maintenance item because it's not harming anyone, anything, or the property. So I really like to go through this with my buyers, you guys, so that way they're not trying to have the seller do a bunch of crap that commonly used homes have. But in this case, there was a bunch of deferred maintenance items. We asked for a couple of them, but we didn't get any. But my buyers were cool with it because I set that expectation. So once you guys, I was going to go back to your contract, whatever. Once you guys go through and the inspection's done, 24 to 48 hours before the inspection report comes back. Once the inspection report comes back, you're going to get with your buyer and you're going to go through it. This is how I run my buyers. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, once you guys get the report back, please go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I want you guys to think of I want you guys to think of the inspection, and I want you to compile 3 lists. 3 lists. Oh, I'm sorry. I always say 2 lists. Sorry. I want you to compile 2 lists. I want you to compile a list of every single item in that inspection report that you guys find to be important to you, that you may or may not do over time. The other list that I want you guys to provide is I want you guys to provide the list of all things that are must be dones before you move in. They must happen before you guys close and move in on this home. Once you have those 2 lists done, I want you guys to send them over to me, and then let's get on the phone and chat. So what I have here, you guys, is I have what's important to my buyers, right? It's the list of everything that they're like, wow, we're going to fix all these leaky faucets. We're going to change out the broken screen. We want the roof replaced. It's the big list. And then they have their must-have list. Their must-have list is the one in which I know I need to negotiate. I need to make sure the sellers get this thing done, or we're not going anywhere. And so what I do is I will take those 2 lists and I'll combine some of them and I'll create a 3rd list. Here's what my 3rd list composes of. Here's why Bruce wins at negotiations a lot. My 3rd list is everything from the must-have list, all of them have to have done list. It goes in here. And then I'll take a few different things from their other list and I'll call them fluff items. Meaning if the sellers don't want to do those items, I'm cool with removing them. But if the sellers will do them all, then great, my buyer gets a win. So here's kind of the way, and maybe we can just set up this with this inspection report. So on this inspection report, I can't remember exactly what we did, but I basically said, okay, the roof needs to be replaced. The garage door needs to be serviced and carbon monoxide alarms need to be put in. Then what I did was I probably put in the plumbing stuff. Since there was quite a few leaky faucets, I probably said something to the effect of seller shall hire a licensed insured plumber to fix all leaky faucets in and around the home. Please see pages blah, blah, blah of the inspection report, as well as the blank sections of the inspection report. And then what I do is I send that to the sell side. And the sell side comes back and says, we're not going to do all of this stuff for you. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. I already know what my master list is. I already know what the non-negotiables are for the buyer, but I'm not going to give it up right then and there. I'm going to take that response from the seller and I'm going to say, hey, great. So this is everything that your seller is wishing to do. This is their drop dead. This is their line in the sand. They're not going to budge on this line. And most likely they're going to say, yeah, this is all we're going to do. Okay, great. Let me talk to my buyers. Let me get back to you guys. And let me see what my buyers say. Then I get back to my buyers and I say, hey, I definitely want to keep the roof and the radon system, carbon monoxide in the garage door. Okay. But do you guys mind if we take out the plumbing stuff? Let's make the sellers feel like they have a win. We can take out the plumbing stuff, but this is your guys' drop dead. And they'll say, yes, if we can't get these things done, we are ready to terminate. So I said, okay. I'm going to send this over to the sell side. Let's be ready to terminate. So I'm going to send you guys an inspection termination. I'm going to send you a notice to terminate and an earnest money request. I want you guys to sign that. I'm not going to send it to the sell side, but I want you guys to be ready to terminate. Do you guys see what I'm doing psychologically to my buyers? I'm basically making sure that they put they hold up their end of their words. If the seller doesn't fix all of these things, we are terminating. So if I have a buyer who signs the termination notice and the earnest money release right away, then I know they've drawn their line. But if I have a buyer that says, well, yeah, send it over, but like, let's see what the sellers say back, then I know my buyers don't have a set line in the sand. Do you guys see that? It helps with my negotiations and my strengths. So I go back over to the sell side and I say, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and take out the plumbing stuff, but everything else is a non-negotiable. If this doesn't work for your seller, you know, let's agree to part ways as fast as we can. So that way your seller doesn't have to spend more time off the market. So talk to your seller. In the meantime, if you don't think your seller is going to take this, I'll have my buyers start to draw up a notice to terminate and an earnest money release form. So that way we can go look at other houses. You guys can get back on the market and we can, you know, make something work elsewhere. I'd really like to keep this together. So I'll try and convince my buyers to maybe take out something else. If you can convince the sellers to understand that we took out all of that plumbing stuff. And then without a doubt, usually you guys, I will get a response back that says, hey, I talked to my sellers. We don't really want to go back on the market. We really appreciate you guys taking out the plumbing stuff. We'll go ahead and do the other items. And then bam, my buyers got all the things that were super important to them done. They didn't have to come back from their line in the sand, and everybody's happy. And we move forward. Questions on how that works?
I have a question about that too.
Sure.
So some of the houses have those 1-year warranties that get purchased, like for the buyers. What all kind of stuff is covered in that? Is that like for screens? What exactly is that cover?
Yep. I don't know.
Okay.
Melanie. I say it and I laugh when I say this. I don't know, and I don't think anybody will know. Okay, because each company is different.
Okay.
But this is a great, I mean, there's not, you guys, like I said, there's not a lot of content to this class. There's a lot of details, so we can spend some time on this. First American Title, or sorry, First American Home Warranty. This is the people that I use. I've found that these guys commonly pay out their claims a little better than most.
Okay.
And I use the Eagle Premier, but I wanted to show you guys, maybe we can see it here. Here we go. All right. So even just with this one home warranty company, if you got the basic plan and you said, congratulations, buyer, we got you a home warranty. The garbage, it doesn't even cover the garbage disposal. It doesn't even cover the electrical system, the ductwork, the plumbing.
So is
door
this
opener, water
something
heater,
that
heating system.
even like the buyers can pull up? Because I know on my last house, they had one of these and my buyers were requesting specifically like some of the screens were torn, and the sellers told us that that would cover this, but I was like, how do we actually know that that's true?
You call 888-875-0533 and you talk to a direct rep. You never take the seller side for face value. Because here's what happens. They'll say, oh, Bruce, the home warranty through First American covers the heating system. And then the seller will provide the buyer with a basic plan. Well, yeah, they're not wrong. First American home warranty will cover heating systems only if you buy the Premier plan. So Melanie, to your point, I don't know of any one company that covers broken window screens. I've actually never, ever heard of that. So I'd be very leery about that all the way around.
Okay.
But then you got other things, right? So this is the heating system, but you have to also cover the central AC. So these home warranty companies, you guys, I'll be honest with you, I only have them on the homes that have old components. None of this stuff says roof. None of this stuff says windows. That's all homeowners insurance stuff. So the only time I have on my rental properties and my primary, I have this Premier plan on heating systems that are older than 5 years and water heaters that are older than 6 years. It's just my rule of thumb. The other thing that I always try to make sure that the plan covers, so weird to me, but some plans like this one won't cover the garbage disposal. But some plans, you guys, the basic one won't even cover the refrigerator. Only the Premier plan will cover, they'll cover all the other appliances except for the refrigerator for some reason. So every home warranty company is different. There's a ton of them out there. I personally only go with the home warranty companies that are nationwide and that have had a long term in the industry. If it's a local company, I'm sorry, but if they get too many claims, they're not going to be able to pay out. These companies work off the power of numbers.
And also they won't cover something that was broken before the plan was put into place. So if you get a broken range, they won't cover it.
Yeah, if they can prove that thing. So sometimes the home warranty companies will say, we'll put this plan in place, but you got to send us your inspection report. And then their inspection report's in file. And to Leslie's point, that's why a lot of people try and cheat these companies. So somebody's, their stovetop will go out. So what? I can't cook for a few days. They'll add a home warranty to their house, and then they'll wait several weeks. And then all of a sudden, they've got this brand new claim for a range. There are some home warranty companies that will really really go into some scrutiny with this. Some components, they're able to tell, hey, look, this is old. This is not a 2-week old thing. This has been going on for years. We're not covering it. The other caveat to home warranty companies are be careful with what they're covering. If we can't fix it, we'll replace it and provide everything at new and good. No age restrictions. The main reason why I use this is because of these 3 points right here. Some home warranties companies will basically say, hey, we'll provide the repair of all of these things. But if you can't repair it, you have to replace it. So now you paid for a home warranty and you have to go buy a new refrigerator. Sometimes the home warranty companies will say, yeah, we'll cover your heating system. And then they'll go out to the house and find that the furnace is 40 years old. And they'll say, hey, look, this furnace, they don't sell it anymore. It's 40 years old, and we're going to prorate this based upon 40 years. So a new furnace today costs $12,000. We're going to take $12,000 and we're going to divide that over 40 years. Congratulations, here's a couple $100 so that way you can go buy your new furnace. Thanks for having us as a home warranty company. You got to be very careful with home warranty companies. I don't like buying them. I don't like providing them. None of that. For me, if a seller wants to provide it to a buyer, great. But my buyer has to call that home warranty company and they have to ask all of the questions that they need, because I can't tell them whether it's a good plan or not for them and their specific needs.
Okay, that's good to know, because our sellers was like pushing that, and for every little thing that they wanted replaced, they kept.
Yeah, that's not the sellers doing that. That is the other
No,
agents.
that was the buyer, was agent that was pushing that on how great that plan was. And so I just didn't know how we were supposed to determine what all they covered.
This is the other one that I've seen a bunch of. American Home Shield, I've seen that. I think at Fort Collins office, we actually have a home warranty of America rep up there. I've seen their literature up there. But these top guys are pretty much the ones that you could say are pretty safe. But again, do your due diligence, because they all have different plans and different coverages. If it's not on a list like this that I can find on Google, I'm not even touching it. Cool. Questions, comments, concerns? We have inspections. We understand how those works. Okay, let's move on. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, risk. All right. Communicate clearly and often with everybody involved. I will say that another common thing that happens to me is hey, Bruce, I'm going through this transaction and X blah, 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 blah. Have you called the title company? No, I didn't know if we could. Okay, so let me shout it out to the rooftops. If you are under contract with a buyer or a seller, and you know what parties are in play with this transaction, I don't give a flying rat's what side of the coin you're on. You can call anybody throughout the transaction except for one person. So a little quiz question for you guys. You're under contract. You have all of these people involved in the transaction. What is the one person you cannot call?
The buyer or seller.
Exactly. Thank you, Meg.
You
So-
got it.
Quit overthinking it, you guys. Quit overthinking it. If you have a question for the lender, don't call Bruce. Call the lender. If you have a question for the title company, call the title company. Communicate, you guys. You guys are going to have all sorts of questions. So many. Communicate with them. If you don't know who to call, reach out to me. I'll help you with who to call. But you can't over communicate in this process. I think that we do a piss poor job. I think a lot of us under communicate because we're scared. We're scared to sound new. Who gives a flying rats if you sound new? Call the title company. Hey, I know I'm on the buy side and I know you're representing and helping the sell side, but I have a question for you. I'm brand new to the industry. This is my first deal I've ever done. And I just want to know what this is. They don't care. They're happy to educate you. The worst thing that a title company likes and the lender likes and any inspector likes is an agent who's been doing this for 5 years and constantly hasn't learned anything or hasn't asked the questions. Because if you've been licensed for 5 years, everybody expects that you already know. So ask the questions. Do yourself a favor. Use your newness as a reason to reach out. It's okay to be on the sell side and talk to the buyer's lender. It's okay to be on the buy side and talk to the title company. It's just not okay, like Meg said, to call the other agent's client. I also want to talk about risk avoidance and communication. I think Leslie is kind of dealing with somebody like this, but I want you guys to know right here and now that when you are on the side of a table and you want to, I'll just set up an example. I have a buyer, I go under contract on the sell side. Did you know that not one time does that agent need to communicate with me through a text, through a phone call, or through an email? Did you know that they can go through the entire transaction? We go under contract to closing and not one communication happens between me and the other agent? I want you guys to understand that. It's okay. They don't have to talk to you. They don't have to call you. None of that. They only have to abide by the dates and deadlines set forth in the contract. So prep yourself, be ready. You will run into an agent who, when you guys send over the executed counter proposal and you're under contract, you're not going to get anything back. When you ask them, hey, is the title company working on the file? You don't get anything back. Hey, are we okay to set up a showing or an inspection for Tuesday at 5 p.m.? You may not get anything back, and it's okay. The only thing that an agent has to do for you is to abide by dates and deadlines. So if the resolution is happening, they might just send you an email that has no language, no body in the email, and it's just an inspection resolution. You call them and say, hey, is this all the best your guys' seller can do? No response, no emails, no nothing. I can't harp on that enough, you guys. It freaks us agents out because here at KW and here with Bruce, communicate high level. But I also got to tell you that some agents and offices don't necessarily teach that. And they don't answer. They don't do anything. They just send documents. They don't even say, here's the disclosures. They just have an email and all it is attachments. You have to know what those are and what they mean and when they need signed. It's only happened a couple times in my career that I've had agents like that, but you guys will run into them. There's more and more agents out there right now that will not talk. I think it's actually going to become very commonplace. It's kind of like when you're arrested. What's the Miranda rights? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. There are agents out there that feel like they're under the Miranda rights with every transaction. Anything I say, anything I text, anything I do can be held against me in a court of law. So I'm only going to abide by the contract. Make sense?
Yes.
Good. Cool. I don't think there's a lot of question around it. It just sucks. It really sucks to be in those situations. So if you guys get into those pickles, let me know. Don't freak out. The other side is allowed to do it, even though I don't agree with it. So we'll figure it out and I'll help you get through it. All right. Be proactive. Look at your timeline. Where is the deal at risk of falling apart? All right. So let's pretend that I just give you guys some scenarios, man. This is like get things done early and often. If my inspection deadline is, let's say it's the 5th and my inspection deadline is on October 10th, but my inspector can do tomorrow afternoon, or he can do the 8th in the afternoon. And my buyer calls me and says, hey, I kind of want the inspector to do the 8th because I want to be there. I'm going to say, hey, guys, let's get the inspection done tomorrow. If there's anything major, we need time to digest it. We need time to look at it and negotiate. What if there needs to be a new roof and new windows and new siding? We might need to have contractors come out and make bids on these things so we know what we're talking about, so we know what we're dealing with. So be proactive. Anytime you can get something done well before your deadline, do it. Do it. Right? What are the best practices to keep deals alive? Communicate. Communicate with all sides. It's going to suck if you have an agent that doesn't communicate, but the best ways to keep a deal alive is to communicate with the other side. The other best way to keep a deal alive is to constantly not answer or ask questions on behalf of your client. Let me say that again. Do not answer on behalf of your buyer or seller. And don't ask questions on behalf of your buyer or seller that they haven't even asked just because you're curious. The other ways to keep the deal alive is to keep all emotions out. I'm going to use Augustine's example. Is 11.5 radon high? I don't know. Is it? Keep your emotions out. Just because you don't feel like the sellers are giving you everything doesn't mean your buyers are happy. Do not put that negative bull crap on your clients. Oh, I really wish, man, I'm so sorry, Mr. Buyer. I really think the sellers should have replaced that window. Well, now you're just getting your buyer worked up to a point where they're like, man, maybe I am getting screwed over. Maybe they should have replaced that window. I really didn't care about it until Bruce told me I should care about it. And then all of a sudden you get a low appraisal. The low appraisal comes in and buyer says, oh, they didn't fix that window. I'm not going to come up in price. Now you guys got this tit for tat game going on because you put emotion into the deal. The buyer was perfectly fine with the seller not fixing the window. The buyer told you that they're going to save up and replace all windows anyways after they move in. So why is the window a big deal? Don't make things a big deal that aren't. What else? Can we think of anything else? The deal is at risk of falling apart whenever you see an objection or resolution deadline. The deal is also at risk of falling apart from the second that you go under contract to the moment that your buyer or seller signs the closing documents. That's how much you're at risk throughout the entire process. Buyers sometimes have more money than you think, and they do not give a flying crap about their $5,000 earnest money. So you guys cannot get your hopes up when you guys go under contract. The deal is at risk at all points in the contract, even up until closing. Let me give you a little situational awareness, and maybe some people can answer. You have a buyer, and you guys are closing the same time and same day and same place. You get to the title company. You're supposed to close at noon. You get to the title company, and the title company has the sellers and you and the sell side, and they start working on some selling documents. That's okay. We can get started with the seller while we wait on your buyer. And then all of a sudden you're texting your buyer, where you at? They're not responding. It's 12:15. Your buyer hasn't showed up yet. They're not responding. What do? What happens? Anybody? Can the seller sue the buyer to complete the transaction?
Think so.
Not if,
Mm.
not if they didn't check the box for in the contract for, I forget the word.
Leslie, you trying to get on my favorites list or what?
No.
Oh, yes,
No, but
she is.
now my mind blinked out.
No, she's 100% right. Normally the answer that everybody says is no. But Leslie's right. If specific performance box is checked in the contract, the seller can sue for performance of the contract. If the specific performance is not selected, then the buyers are giving up their earnest money. Now reverse that. You have the buyer, we get to closing and it's 12:15 and the sellers aren't there. What happens? The buyer can sue for performance of the contract. Okay, if they want to get their earnest money back, then they're saying we release the seller for this. But if the seller just doesn't show up at the time of closing, the buyer can basically sue for performance through good faith, because it's not the seller's earnest money that's at risk, it's the buyer's. And since the buyer is ready to close, there's nothing at risk. And so the seller needs to sell. Not a lot of ways the seller can get out of the contract. Liz, let's try and tackle yours. I'm not sure I understand it all. This might be a stupid question, but if the closing, but is the closing the same if the new build and you have the buy? Oh, I get it. I'm sorry, I misread that first. Yes, oftentimes yes and no. So with each builder, it kind of depends. So with each builder, most builders will have the builder contract. So that's the difference, number one. Number two is that a builder oftentimes has a lot of ABAs going on, and they usually own title companies. And so sometimes you'll close at a reputable title company, and sometimes you'll close through the builder's title company. Well, the builder doesn't necessarily always have office locations. So sometimes you'll close at our Keller Williams office. Sometimes you'll close at a Starbucks. Sometimes the title company will rent a co-working space and you'll close at the co-working space. And sometimes you'll close right at the new build sales center where you actually saw the model homes. But as far as closing goes, no, the same process is pretty well the same with that closing entity. They have to go through pretty much the same docs that any title company goes through. Good question. Yep. All right. I think we're about wrapping up. Think about your guys' questions here. Oh yeah, okay. Harp on this. Always act in your client's best interest, even when it seems to conflict with your own. You have a fiduciary duty to your client. Do not state your opinions. If you feel like the seller needs to replace the roof for your buyer, shut your mouth. Let the buyer tell you they feel like the seller should replace the roof, okay? If you feel like the carpet is soiled and smells like cat pee, shut your mouth. Your buyer might live with cat pee in their home and they can't smell it. And honestly, it might smell better than what they live in. You might not have ever been to their house. But as far as acting in your client's best interest, keep emotion out of it. Make sure you know the 2 to 3 sides of every coin. What do I mean by that? How do you keep your client's best interest in mind, but yet be able to give them all of their options?
Present the facts.
Thank you, Leslie. If you can realize that whatever's in your mind is opinion based, is radon at 11.5 high or low, that's opinion based. The fact is that EPA guidelines say that they recommend levels 4 picocuries per liter and lower. We had a radon test that came in at 11.5. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would you like to ask the seller to put a radon system in? Would you like to ask the seller for a seller concession? Or would you like to put in the radon system yourself and not worry about it? What would you like to do? Well, Bruce, what should we do? Is radon high? Is 11.5 high? Well, 11.5 is more than 4.0. So if you're concerned about it, we should probably ask the seller to put one in. Do you guys see the difference? I answered their question, but I didn't answer their question. Well, 11.5 is greater than 4.0. Would you guys like to ask the seller to put one in? Well, do you think we should ask the seller to put one in? If you're concerned with radon, then yes. I mean, anything that you guys would like to ask the seller to put into our inspection objection, we should definitely put in. But I also think you guys should know how much a radon system costs. Oh, that's a good question, Bruce. How much does that cost? About $1,000 to $1,500 typically. Oh, well, that's good Lord. That's an extreme amount. We're absolutely putting that in. Okay, great. You don't say, even at 4.2 picocuries per liter, you want to ask the seller to put in a $1,500. You don't say that. You just say, okay, great, I'll put it in. And then I wait for the selling side to come back. And if the seller side gets on the phone with me and says, Bruce, you guys really asking for a radon system at 4.2 picocuries per liter? I say, oh, I apologize, Mr. and Mrs. Seller's agent. When you say you guys, I'm not the buyer. This is just what my buyers asked me to ask for. Would you like me to go back to my buyer and see if they'd be willing to get rid of that? Is that what you're asking for? So you guys do yourself a favor too and put the other agents in check. Once an agent starts to get all emotional with me and all fired up, I commonly will say, hey, Leslie, I understand everything that you're saying. Is that what you're saying, or is that what your sellers are saying? Because you sound pretty upset for your sellers. I really think we got to do ourselves a favor as agents and kind of, keep our emotions out of this. But I also know that probably just pissed you off for me saying that. So is that your sellers asking, or is that you asking? You guys, there'd be a lot of agents that get a little wordy, that like feel like they need to push an agenda. Don't let another agent get you all clammy. Ask him, is that coming from yourself or your seller? And sometimes they'll calm down and say, I'm sorry. I don't mean to take it out on you. My sellers are just super pissed off with your buyers right now. And it's just got me all in I've got a lot of things going on. My wife's pregnant and my dog's dying, and it's just a lot. Yeah. Hey, no problem, man. Hey, we're going to get through this. I know your sellers are upset. To be completely honest with you. Yeah. I mean, I got to do what my buyers got to do, but they think radon is a big thing. I don't necessarily have the same opinion that they have, but this is what they want, and this is what they're digging their heels in. So do you think you could ask the sellers one more time if we could put something together? Maybe they'll offer us a $700 credit. Maybe they'll offer us, something. Yeah, okay, maybe I can get them to come up some way, shape, or form. Get those other agents on your side. Make sure that they keep emotion out too. Okay. Questions? All right. Let's close. Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Yep. Close asking for referrals. Then we're done. All right. So when you guys have your clients in the middle of contracts, You guys will have places in the contract that people are excited. The number one place for a buyer is when they go under contract. They're excited. Ask for a referral. Hey, Melanie, thank you so much for working with me. Now that we're under contract, now it's time for us to really get to work. But you know one thing that's going to happen, Melanie? You and I aren't going to be out there looking at houses anymore. Who do you know, Melanie, that can spend time, that I can spend time with showing some houses to on the nights and evenings like we were doing? Meaning, do you know of anybody else in your world that's also thinking about buying a home? I'd love to help them like I've helped you. Hey, Melanie, congratulations. You are now through inspection. I know that was a lot of back and forth, and I hope that you feel like this was a win-win for both you and the seller. But you see, the fact of the matter is now that we're through inspection, we're kind of in limbo period. The lender's going to be completing all of their stuff with the title company. We're kind of going to be waiting to close. So you're not going to hear from me or see from me at all. And honestly, once you close, Leslie, I'm going to be jobless. Have you thought about anybody since we've gone under contract that might be looking to buy a home or sell a home that I can, you know, kind of interview for the position? I don't want to be jobless once this is all done. Ask for those things when you're under contract, you guys. Hey, Melanie, well, as we go throughout this process, I really hope you start to see everything that I do to get people into homes. And one of the things that I'm going to ask of you is once we close on this property, if I've done a good job for you, if I've done a bang up job for you, would you do me a favor in return? It's not going to cost you anything, but would you give me a review? An honest review. Now, if it's not a 5-star or higher, I'd love for you to have a conversation with me. But if it's a 5-star or higher, I'll give you my Google link and you can fill it out. I love that review. Sound good? Thanks. You guys got to ask for referrals and ask for reviews as you guys are under contract. Post-close follow-up. All right. So remember what I said at the beginning of our class. Always, 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 never, ever, ever take a client and take them off of their sphere of influence touch campaign. They should always be getting quarterly calls. If you're going under contract and a quarterly call in your command says, hey, call Leslie for her quarterly call, make the decision if you're going to call or not. But the task still needs to continue to commence. Don't take people off of your touch program just because they went under contract or they're working with you as a lead. Once they close, have a post-closing follow-up campaign that overlays on top of your other campaign. So let me give you guys mine and we'll get you guys out of here. The day after closing, I shoot them a text that says, hey, I really appreciate you guys working with me. And I want to see how your guys' first night went, ? A week later, I'll say, hey, I understand that life is busy and now you guys are unpacking as well as, you know, back to work. Is everything going okay? Have you ran into any issues at the house? Is there any vendors that I can provide for you? I hope you guys are doing well. A month later, hey, Leslie, it's been a month. And again, I hope you guys are settling in well. I never expect any of my buyers to be fully settled in within the first month. But if you are, that's fantastic. Once you're settled in, will you please reach out to me so we can set up a time to just meet and celebrate? So day after closing, text saying, congratulations, I hope everything went well your first night. Week later, it's been a week. I know you're probably not all the way settled in, but I'm just thinking about you. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know if you need any vendors. 1 month later, 1 month from closing, sorry, not 1 month from the week, 1 month later. So 3 weeks after that second touch. Hey, it's been a month since you've closed. Again, do you need any vendors or do you need anything? Let me know when you are settled so we can meet up and celebrate. Then 2 weeks later, now this is where you kind of start to deviate. If they've reached out to you and you set up something to go celebrate, forget about that 2-week task. Most people will forget to let you know they've settled in. So after 2 weeks, you call them and say, hey, I know it's been about a month and a half, and I just wanted to see if you settled in because I've got some time open on Thursday at 6 p.m. I could swing by with a bottle of wine, some beer, some coffee, some tea. Don't bring alcohol to, a recovering alcoholic's house. Don't bring tea to a coffee drinker, and don't bring coffee to a tea drinker. Don't bring sweets to somebody who's on a diet, right? Know your people. So when I say celebrate, it's not all, food and alcohol related. Could be anything. Hey, I just wanted to stop over. Yeah, come on over, Bruce. Thursday at 6 works for us, or set up a different time. Then when I get to their house, okay, when I get in front of them, then I will say, hey, I want to celebrate tonight, but I also have a little bit of a business agenda. I want to know if you think I gave you a 5-star service. You see, I want to talk to you about that, because if I didn't, I want to know what I can do better. Well, Bruce, I mean, yeah, you were a 5-star, man. Like, you did a bang up job. I guess the only thing that I think you could do a little better, or maybe like we got a little lost, is we weren't sure what exactly was going on once we went under contract. Okay, but outside of that, like total 5-star review. Yeah, and honestly, that's not that big of a complaint for us. Okay, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to change up my buyer's presentation just slightly, and I'm going to add in a few pieces to that, because I don't want people to be lost when they work with me. So you guys good with giving me a 5-star review? Oh, yeah, send it over. Okay, let me send it over to you right now. Do you guys want to go ahead and do it while I pour us a glass of wine? Yeah, you guys can do it right on your mobile phone. Here you go. And then I just send them the Google link, and they're doing it right there. They are more likely to give me a 5-star review after, 1, I've set them up for a 5-star review, and 2, they just basically told me it was a 4-star service because I forgot something in their presentation. But they're going to give me a 5-star review because I just tackled that objection. I just tackled the reason why. So if you guys are creating your post-closing checklist, day after, week after, 1 month after closing, 6 weeks after closing, that's high intensity. That's me reaching out to them, phone call or text, never an email. After 6 weeks, and after I had that meeting, and after I have a Google review, then they're going to be set up on a month-by-month email that just talks about their home. Hey, congratulations, it's been 2 months. Let me know if you need anybody. Congratulations, it's been 3 months since you bought a home. Let me know if you've thought about anybody in your life that might be also thinking about buying a home. Hey, congratulations, it's been 4 months. By now, I'm sure you've settled in. Again, I want to reach out and ask if you need any vendors. Congratulations, it's been 6 months. I know real estate constantly stays top of mind when you're moving in. Have you done anything cool with your home? Hey, congratulations. It's now been a half a year since you guys have bought your new home. I hope you're loving it since the day that you guys saw it. If you guys ever need anything in this real estate world, I'm always here to help. And then it's done. But in the meantime, the other touch program is still going on. Your master sphere of influence touch program is continuing. Thank you guys so much. That's all we have for today.
Thank you, Bruce. That was fabulous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
All right. Next week, we're getting our heads right? We're finished. Session 20. I'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye, guys.